Yes, we're on.
Good morning, everybody. Welcome to this episode of the New Mexico True How-To webinar series. I'm Amy Iwanape, the Public and Industry Relations Director here at the New Mexico Tourism Department, and I am joined by a great group of panelists and colleagues who are going to lead today's discussion. So to my left, I have Erin Latt, Marketing Director here at the Tourism Department, and to our right, this wonderful, top-notch expert lineup of panelists. We have Jennifer Viela, Steve Larice, and Jen Hobson-Hinesley with us today. Throughout the webinar, if you have questions, feel free to text them in. Text Brianna at 505-469-2739, or direct tweet them at NMTourism. Send your questions in, and throughout the webinar, we'll be repeating that information. And then at the end, we'll have a Q&A with all of your questions. So this is our first webinar of the year, the new year. We're so excited that you're here joining us, and I have all these great people with me. There's a topic that comes up in New Mexico tourism and all of our industry news over and over again. It's give us a pitch. Pitch us. Pitch, pitch, pitch. That's a topic, a word that keeps coming up. And we just want to make sure that the industry partners have this resource to move forward and participate and leverage the New Mexico True brand with a pitch. So today's topic is how to craft a pitch. And we're going to go way back to the basics, and we're going to ask these panelists to define that for us and then help us build out our pitch, help you build out your pitch for your destination or your organization. And we have a bunch of opportunities coming up here at the Tourism Department where you can throw a pitch. First is Travel Tank 2.0. What's Travel Tank? Well, some of you participated last year. We're so excited about that and happy to have helped you with that. But it's a Shark Tank style competition. So we're having all these people come forward, throw us your best pitch, and then earn some coverage. This year, we're opening it up to everybody, and then we're asking for a pitch for your organization. It can be an individual or a group of people together to throw your pitch. And there's a great prize up for grabs. 6 spots, an invitation to join the New Mexico Tourism Department in a media mission in Austin, Texas in June. Really excited about that. There'll be a lot of travel writers there. An opportunity to earn coverage. But we want to make sure you're armed with the artillery before you do that. And the deadline to submit your pitch is in 2 weeks, February 2nd. So I want to ask Erin, why Texas? Why are we going to Austin, and what can our industry partners and winners expect to earn from getting coverage in Texas?
So it will not come as a surprise to anybody who works, lives, exists in New Mexico that Texas is a really valued travel partner. We get lots and lots of tourists from Texas, and that can be just something you notice driving around town and the license plates that you see. It's a drive market for us. It's a fly market for us. We have really strong presence across Texas. If you've ever been in the Dallas airport, I'm sure you've been inundated with New Mexico True advertising, some of our best stuff. Some of the stuff that people comment on most frequently in person and in social media. So what we have here is an opportunity to get in front of the right people in one of our strongest markets. Austin, obviously being a super vibrant, super up-and-coming part of Texas in terms of traveler affluence and that sort of venturesome traveler. They're looking for excitement, they're looking for adventure, they're looking to head to cooler climates on a really hot day in the summer. So we are thrilled to get our Travel Tank partners in front of a Texas audience, sort of get that maximal exposure in a market that's really, really excellent for us.
Awesome. Thanks, Erin. So we're excited to have 6 of you join us. And again, it's individuals or businesses. Anybody is welcome to participate this year. February 2nd is the deadline. We also have, and I'm sure you all received the email from Audrey about our PR pitch survey. So what we've done is we've reached out to all of our industry partners and said a survey of about 29 questions. Help us determine the best of the best in New Mexico. What's the best margarita? What's the most romantic spot? Where's the best place to enjoy a beer? And that's all in efforts to engage the industry, because they're the forerunners, the people out there who are running these businesses, greeting our guests, and we need to tap them for their knowledge and their expertise in what can we pitch? What can we promote to our PR agency, to travel writers here at the tourism department? So we wanted to have all that information there. So you have that survey, and in also efforts to help you respond to that, that's what we're here today for. We also have International Media Marketplace coming up. We're going on January 25th. We're joining some other partners, and we'll be there in front of travel writers pitching New Mexico's destinations, the best of the best. And also at IPW, which is International Powwow, coming up in May in Denver. There will be a media mission there too. Lots of international travel writers that we'll be in front of. So with all those opportunities coming up, this is why we have the panelists here today to go all the way back, remind us what a pitch is, and help you build your pitch out today. So, reminder, again, text your questions in, 505, Brianna, if you're waiting, 505-469-2739, or tweet them at NM Tourism. So, we'll go ahead and start with some introductions here. And if you just want to start, Jen, Jennifer, and your background, and how you've interacted with travel writers in the past.
Sure. Thanks for having me today. I'm Jennifer Fiala. I have a public relations and marketing company based here in Santa Fe. It's called V Media. I've been here in Santa Fe doing marketing and public relations for, it'll be 18 years on March 1st. So I've done work for the Georgia O'Keeffe Museum, the Lensic, Santa Fe's Performing Arts Center, as well as I've worked with Jen at JLH Media. And so I have pretty broad experience. I've done work for hotels, restaurants. Now my focus is kind of narrowed just organically to a lot of art and Native American art. So I do public relations for Department of Cultural Affairs. I do the museums, the Museum of Art, Museum of Indian Arts and Culture, and other clients. So
thank you for being here today. Steve.
I'm Steve Larice. I'm a freelancer, just coming up on 10 years doing that. Started life working in newspapers, thought that was just going to be a, lucrative long-term career back in the 90s, and like most of my stocks, that didn't go as I planned. But fortunately, I signed on with New Mexico Magazine as an editor in 1997, and was really enjoyed working there for 10 years through 2007, and then set sail for the unknown waters of freelance, thinking I'd do that for a year and then get a real job. And 10 years later, it's been great. And, I work with the Travel Channel, National Geographic Traveler, U.S. News and World Report, just a bunch of different print and online outlets. So plug in New Mexico as much as I can.
Thanks, Steve. And we're so fortunate to have you in New Mexico.
Oh, love it.
Hi, I'm Jen Hobson-Hinesley. My company is JLH Media, and it's been 7 years since I started JLH. Thanks for the reminder that anniversary had passed me by and without notice somehow this last couple of weeks. Before that, I worked here at the New Mexico Tourism Department, handling PR and marketing, and before that, worked for an agency based in LA that had the New Mexico Tourism Department and Tourism Santa Fe as clients. So tourism has been my background since I've basically been in Santa Fe, which has been about 15 years. And my focus in JLH Media has been both branding and traditional media relations, specifically in tourism and hospitality, a lot of hotels, restaurants, museums, and also real estate.
Nice. Well, we're so glad you're here today. So let's start. Let's start with a very, very basic question, and I know a lot of us are probably really excited because we want to hear directly from you in the industry, from you writing, and those of you pitching. What is a pitch and why do I need one? And whoever would like to open it up and has first thoughts on an answer to that question.
I'll go. So a pitch, when I think of a pitch, I'm thinking of a specific news item. So it's as basic as that. It's something that's newsworthy. So, how I differentiate a pitch that wouldn't work from one that would, for instance, is to say, I'm a hotel in northern New Mexico. with Hot Springs is not a pitch, because that's not a news item. The fact that you exist isn't necessarily a pitch, and a journalist isn't going to take notice of that unless there's a news item. So I'm a hotel in northern New Mexico in a hot spring that is opening 12 new lodging units is a pitch, because it's specifically noting what is going on at the property. So, I mean, if that's as basic as I can think of to make that, you know, to what a pitch is. Of course, there's lots more we could go into, which I'm sure we will.
Because, I mean, Jen's point of because you exist is not a pitch. And so, you know, I really think that one of the things that goes into a pitch, as much as crafting that really short, tight message that delivers that newsworthy item, one thing that you have to do that's really important, it's not just one thing, actually, it's a lot of things that go before your pitch. Really important to know who you're pitching to, and the timeline for them, all of these things, so that when you actually pitch your message that's newsworthy, it's going to land someplace that makes sense. So if Steve's working Travel Channel and you're doing stories 2 months or 3 months in advance, that pitch needs to kind of fall into his timeline too. So there's a lot of research that needs to go into that, and we can talk a little bit more about that. I know you wanted to talk about the actual definition of the pitch itself. So Steve may have some good info.
A lot of times I'm the receiver of the pitches, and then I turn around and pitch my editors that I work with. So I'm kind of the middleman, and as a writer, and you know, lately I do a lot of national and international trend pieces. So, you know, I may have an assignment for, okay, we need a roundup of 10 great properties with natural hot springs. You know, beginning of the year, yeah, what's new in the national hotel industry? Who's putting in neat rooms? You know, things that stand out. There's so much out there, and everyone has access now, of course, with the internet to, you know, get their message out there. How do you sift through all that, and, you know, connect trends together that are of interest to, you know, in this case, a national audience.
Steve, do you find that when I think of a pitch, I also think of something that's really short?
Yeah.
So as a journalist, when you're receiving, because, you know, press releases are one thing, they can go on and on, there's, you know, rules about the length, you should keep them, but really a pitch is an email you're sending to a specific journalist. So if you've identified what journalist you think is going to best receive that news item, you've taken into account what their deadlines are, it's pretty pithy, right? I mean, you're getting right to the point in the email.
Yeah, you know, exactly. And you almost have two types of pitches. You have the really detail-oriented, you know, hey, we're opening up 12 new rooms, you know, there's original art, you know, y'all if you have any questions.
Right.
And then, you know, depending on who's making the pitch and what kind of audience you want, you know, it's like a golf bag with all different types of clubs, you know, and you got you know, quiver, you know, what tool do you want to use for what audience? You know, if you have an editor or a writer in New York, just the fact that, hey, New Mexico has hot springs. New Mexico has snow. You know, that'll blow people's minds. I'm like, well, you know. So sometimes you want to look for the gee whiz or you know, aspect of the pitch. But no, you're exactly right, especially if you have a relationship with a writer or an editor. Hey, this is coming up. If you're interested, more info. Photos, I think are really important. Learn how to make a good embed on your emails. That really gets attention. And certainly to have a stock catalog that you can follow up with. Hey, this is great. I want to include it in a roundup or throw it online. Do you have a photo that's 2 megs at least?
The pitch too, you know, it may be different depending on your relationship with the writer. So if you've, you know, doing research and trying to reach out to new and make new contacts, then your pitch may be really more specific about one thing. But if it's somebody like Steve, we might call him up and say, I have this whole list of things for you. So, you know, it depends on who you're talking to as well. But each pitch would be so, you know, pretty succinct.
And to that point, I have a degree in journalism. I was a magazine editor for like a hot second.
Which is an eternity in the business.
I was going to say, I feel very seasoned, actually. It was a long time ago, and it was a hot second. But one thing that I want to clarify about why you need a pitch is because on the back end, an editor or writer, more frequently editors in this day and age, have a beat, and they are constantly looking for new angles on the same theme, sort of new takes. So I'm assuming the pitch, however short, preferably short, because attention spans are very short and time is very short, I'm assuming that process is best used when you have a journalist you work with or an editor, and you pitch them something that is within their wheelhouse, that you already have an idea that they're going to care about. Right?
For sure.
Where you can already count on them to be the luxury hotel guy. You got to go to him with any new stuff that you have in a luxury hotel. Or this is the adventure hike guy, and you go to him with the adventure stuff and the stuff that you see along the way. Is that kind of the pitch ecosystem, more or less, from the back end?
Yeah, I was gonna say, especially Twitter, that's a wealth of information about journalists who are out in the social media realm. You can really then kind of hone in on what their interests are and, pitch accordingly. So I think that's a really good point.
Right.
You can also know too so certain writers write certain columns. And if you have a news item that fits into, so you got to constantly do your research. So that pitch may only take a minute, but the actual background, looking to see what, find the writer's byline. What have they written? Who are they writing for? What specific columns? So I could pitch you a story for the local flavor column in AAA New Mexico Magazine, which it profiles people. So who is a good person to fit into that specific column that those writers do every month, or however, whatever the frequency is.
Absolutely. People making pitches really need to be media consumers themselves, and look in the places where you'd love to see, a story, about your property or program, it's like, wow, I love this article. I could totally see my hotel in here. Who wrote it? And then track that down. Or certainly if you can find out who the editor is. A lot of time writers get assignments from editors and put it together. Depending on who you're working for, sometimes you have a lot of control. Write a piece on a hike you're interested in. You can do anything. Or, okay, we need, a roundup of 10 cruises that cater to millennials.
Right.
And so.
And that can go both ways. Writer can pitch an editor, editor can assign to a writer.
Yeah,
and that's
a lot of back and forth.
Really cyclical.
Right. And at the same time, I'm not known as a, cruise guy, but every now and then that'll, I have a story that I can include that in. So you just never know. It's throwing darts at a board and hoping something sticks. But you're exactly right. Being familiar, and especially if you butter someone up. Hey, I saw your article on blah, blah, blah. It was wonderful. You're the best writer ever. Hey, I have this thing that I think, you would also be interested in.
You are right.
I think that one thing Steve mentioned that's actually a really great starting point, like if you have a news item and you want to create a little bit of a strategy around how you're going to get it out there, pick the top 10 publications that you read that you think that your story would be a good fit for in general. Then do the research. It's easy to find the masthead of magazines online, even people's emails.
Right.
Do the research online, figure out what they've written, and then you could write the same pitch and then alter it according to which. So say you have 10 pitches, you have 10 publications, you're really casting your net, and then, if you get a 1% return, you're doing okay.
Yes.
I mean, that's the thing, I think, to note about expectations in media relations. It's difficult, and it takes time to get results. So that means you're doing that every month, say. And you may not have a new news item every single month, and that's the thing that I run into sometimes with my clients is you may have a really big news item, like 12 new lodging units are opening at this hotel one month, and that'll take you through, you could get media coverage for 6 months or in 12 months from that time. depending on people's lead times and their interests. And then the next month, you may not have as much to say. And so one thing that I've noticed that I see a lot on social media especially are links to, say, travel publications like Travel and Leisure or the Travel Channel. It's the 10 best hot springs to soak in the Southwest, or best places to take family road trips this spring break. So associating yourself with other like properties or restaurants or products is a nice way. It may seem like you're pulling yourself in with your competitors, but I think it seems like that's kind of trending in the media landscape to do more digestible roundups.
And that's especially true for different
Right.
tourism destinations in New Mexico. If you are, Las Cruces or Alamogordo, you might need to come up with something that's special for Valentine's Day or Mother's Day, or I'm trying to think, and maybe you could reach out to the people who are around you who are also in the same boat. Basically, you're all trying to get attention to, your destination, your restaurant, in New Mexico, and so you could potentially come up with themes to partner and then pitch that. So, we've come together because we have a fabulous Christmas Day ski package, free kits, whatever those things are. So.
Absolutely, yeah. Look,
That's a great idea.
wherever you are in New Mexico, there's something cool nearby. So if you're in Alamogordo, use White Sands, use the space history that brings in kids, that brings in multi-generational travel. Las Cruces is fantastic. Driving in from Texas, make sure and, stop there on your way to wherever. Pay attention to your county. Rising Waters raise all ships.
And I do find that the roundups are very, very effective. When we send out more content as opposed to we're just going to narrow in on this one, a lot of the times we'll get a lot of pickup about it. So can we talk about exactly what is a roundup? What can we include on there? If our industry partners come together, how should they format their roundup?
That's a good question.
It's very general.
Yeah, 10 great reasons to visit Sandoval County, and from the hiking to the food to the history, and you can, just really come up with a good, solid, well-rounded list. And think, right when you pitch something, it may be helpful not to think of a journalist or an editor, but think of a friend who lives somewhere else, and why would you want to stop in Cuba? Because El Brunos is awesome, and the San Pedro Wilderness is fantastic. Oh yeah, like where would you take people, if they had a day or two?
It does seem like it does take a single person to kind of head that up. Like, for instance, hotels would be a natural place to start, because if they can offer a package that includes tickets to a museum, like say you're doing a family-friendly package, and you would do potentially ski passes, a ski lesson, a hotel, free breakfast, or whatever so maybe it starts with one particular destination, whether that's the ski hill or the hotel, and they say, when you show us your ski pass, so someone has to kind of design what it looks like and then pull the other partners together, and then someone, would be responsible then for disseminating that news, but including the other partners. I'm sure you guys do that a lot for your, yes, we do.
And that's, if you can make yourself an ambassador, say, I don't know, Ojo Caliente, spa resort, just, throwing it out there. It's like, we are, if you want to see northern New Mexico, base out of here, and these are all the places you can go within a day, and then come back to this fantastic property. People want to contact, they want to know, okay, if I want to visit New Mexico, if I can make it to this hotel, motel, B&B, I'm set. They're going to take care of me, and they're going to come up with this wonderful itinerary. And that's where you can neighbor up with all the other attractions in your area.
I think we did, at Ojo, Ojo is less than 100 miles from all of these different ski areas, and we created a map, and it's like Pajarito, Sipapu, Taos, Santa Fe. So, that's just finding things that are close or otherwise related somehow.
Right.
So moving on, what is what is the difference between a pitch and a story? I know we talked about that. We talked about it's just an email. A pitch is an email, very, very short.
Or phone call.
Yeah.
Or, yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
What's the difference? Because we can sometimes have all these ideas and all these thoughts like, yes, here, but how do we refine that and how do we separate that from a story?
Stories, and again, it's my job to write the story. So, and, you know, even when I was an editor, you know, in New Mexico Magazine, you'd get, you know, PR pieces that, you know, look like they were ready to go. And that never happens really, you know, where something presented as marketing, you know, gets printed as editorial. So, but that said, you know, your first paragraph can read like a story, can really be interesting. You still want to hook the writer or the editor to know more, but the writer and editor want to feel like they're making this discovery. They're not being told what to do, but they've been invited to learn more about, you know, this gee whiz subject that they didn't know about. You know, sometimes too, I mean, if you have a lot of information, me getting an email just like, hey, you know, Steve, I mean, you know, personalization is always great. You get so much stuff. You know, would you be interested in learning more about, you know, this or that? And I may be able to say, you know, it's not really my beat. You may want to try this, or you know, this other person, or well, you know, do you have anything that would be more family oriented? You know, as opposed to you know, the subject you originally pitched. So you just start that conversation, and it can save you a lot of work, and you can also it helps you focus your follow-up pitch after you make that contact.
I think the story is much more detailed. So as public relations professionals, we present ideas that then someone can fill in. So, you know, we may include, it's always great in your press releases to include a quote from someone that reinforces the angle that you are writing about. But really, you want the journalist to then go and see it from their own perspective, and then they really write the details. So, you know, it's inverted paragraph, who, what, when, where, why, what makes it interesting, a little bit of perspective from a professional who's involved and why, you know, this hotel or this destination is so fabulous. But then you want someone to come in and actually, you know, fill out the story and really go into a lot greater detail about it.
I think stories too, like there's an emotional aspect of storytelling that people then identify with. So when Steve writes a piece, there's part of that story is going to pull you in, and there's sort of the essence of that brand he's telling the story of that's beyond the news item. So the pitch is the news item, and then the story is more like how that person or that hotel or that restaurant owner or chef is living that story, that pitch. So I'm thinking of, for instance, a past client, Emily Henry, who has Millicent Furniture, and she hand makes these really beautiful like armoires and cabinetry, and she does it in Taos, where she was born and raised. And one day she texted me. So the news item is, it's a new line. We went to New York. We talked to interior design publications. These are all the aspects, these are the types of wood she uses. This is why it's new and different. This is how she's affiliated with other furniture makers in a long line of furniture makers in New Mexico. But she texted me a photo one time of her in an arroyo, like hand sanding this piece of wood that didn't quite fit. And it was so like Emily, because she's kind of like this hardcore, like she's super elegant and she lives like that interior design perfection. But then she was like just down dirty in the sand, you know, like fixing it. And I thought that's why people like this furniture, because it has a piece of her heart in it.
Yeah.
And that's an interesting story that people are going to, like, if you have the time. The pitch, you don't have time. No one cares. Like, why should I care? I have 2 seconds. 500 other people sent me an email today that I've got to read. But then once you've made it past that point where you have a relationship with a journalist, telling that story, I mean, that may be the tipping point for them about actually covering someone like Emily, because it's interesting. There's heart in it.
that it becomes a human interest story at that point.
Right.
And, you know, I get a lot of pitches with, you know, oh, we had our banner year, we had a, you know, 500% increase and blah, 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 and I don't really care. But, you know, your chef was born and raised in the area and is bringing in his grandmother's recipes. That's where you set the hook, you know. And then I'm like, oh, yeah, okay, tell me more. You start asking for more details, and then the writers invested in the story. And so a pitch, you know, that may start off with, you know, wow, visitation is up, you know, that can turn into, you know, any number of other subjects. Whenever I get a pitch, my first thought is, why would my readership care? Does my readership care about, you know, increased profits? No. You know, my readership is looking for new experiences, you know, ways to spend quality time with people they love.
So to sort of condense the hooks that we've been talking about, because really we've been talking about sort of a variety of hooks. So we have the broad idea of changes to the business, upgrades to rooms, artist collaborations, new and cool features, and then there's the human interest hook. We just brought on this new chef. There's this new artist in residence. We've got this other thing going on. So that's another one. And then there's really a third, and I'd be interested to hear what you guys think of it, because we're sort of talking around it, which is seasonal, where and event based, which to me in my head kind of in their own way go hand in hand, where it's like this Christmas we're planning this great thing, and it's in our lobby, and you're never going to believe the New Mexico Christmas tree that we've put up right in the middle, or it's the 4th of July. This is the very first place that 4th of July was ever celebrated in the state of New Mexico, and it's right here in Clayton, or something similar. Does that factor in? Is that the lesser of the three? Is that right in there? You know, events, seasonal based stuff.
I think that's one of those areas where you have to be super mindful about lead times, because so for instance, I know I have typically gone and done death sides in New York with media. I mean, this can apply to any time, you know, time of pitching, but I've always gone in February because I know I'm going to get summer coverage. So it's really that far in advance. So if you're thinking Christmas, you're starting in July. So that can be a little tricky. But I think it's a great opportunity to create something, to create a news item that otherwise wouldn't exist. So you can do it around Valentine's Day, you can do it around winter as a season, or Christmas, and create packages, create discounts, create something, you know, you can create something out of nothing, to hook it up with the season or the event,
Absolutely. I just, in this month's issue of V Magazine, it's a luxury magazine out of Florida, a piece on all the ski areas in New Mexico that I put together in October. And again, print has a much longer lead time, but yeah, seasons, especially in New Mexico, you know, it's literally like clockwork. Balloon Fiesta, I mean, that is, I'm always, you know, it feels like the same story year after year, because it's always this fantastic event. Okay, what new special shapes, you know, where are the pilots from, all that. But, yeah, that is, you know, I can set my calendar to that. Skiing, and again, people are surprised. New Mexico's a desert, you know, there's skiing, what are you talking about? You know, and that's another gee whiz, tell me more kind of story. You know, but I mean, chili, the chili harvest, Farolitos Luminarias, I won't get into the debate there, but things on fire for decorative purposes in New Mexico. You know, we have so much unique culture that the rest of the nation and the world is fascinated by. You know, even dances, which, you know, can be sensitive, but to help people understand how to properly attend dances that are open to the public. You're not going to find that anywhere else in the world, and it's such a special thing that's only here. So
I mean, you might. I've certainly seen it happen. You know, if there's some big story that National Geographic wants to run about Balloon Fiesta, they will assign 2017 Balloon Fiesta in hopes to write about it, to publish sometime before 2018 Balloon Fiesta. Or ski stuff. Send a writer out to do the ski thing this winter to be published next winter. That might be like more on the order of like a New York Times travel section or something similar. But when it comes to those lead times, we could be talking, if it's something event-based or seasonal, you might have the press coverage the one year, but wait the whole extra year for the publication.
Right, yeah. Especially, you know, if it's a first-person piece or a longer piece, certainly. If they want original photography or video. And that said, that kind of underscores why, you know, you should have photos and video available, because if someone says, oh my gosh, you know, Balloon Fiesta is trending everywhere, you know, we need images. You know, wherever you are, you're able to supply those.
The timeliness aspect of all of what we're doing is really critical, because it's what makes something news. It's new. So, you know, it's going to be happening at this point, and at that point, it's news. So, you know, that all of the different seasons and things that happen at different times, different events happen at different times of the year, those are all, you know, excellent things to match with different media that are out there on the right lead time. So it's funny, talking about the pitch, we're talking a lot of what goes on behind the pitch. So that it is, you know, sending something that's timely and interesting and different and fits with a writer, fits with the publication. All those things are really important, and do it succinctly. But in order to get there, you have a lot of background. You have a lot of work to do until you get to be able to make that pitch. So.
And think, you know, if someone's reading an article, you know, if it publishes, you know, for going back to the Balloon Fiesta, you know, the article publishes October 1st, you know, it's a little late to get a hotel room to plan a family trip, you know, and so then you're like, well, all right, there's so much out there on the Fiesta. How about, you know, where to stay, what to do after the balloons land? You know, what are some other things while you're here in New Mexico? What are some other must-do things?
Come to Santa Fe.
You know, you need to come to Santa Fe. You know, take the train up. You know, go for a soak. Pet some chickens at.
Sunrise Springs.
Sunrise Springs. Oh, yeah, that's right. They do have wonderful chickens.
Chickens have really come to the forefront in the media.
And that's, you know, it's
such
a great program, and it's unique.
It is. It's hard not to lead with the chickens, to be honest.
Right. Oh, and we have all this, like, you know, it doesn't sound like a,
right,
you know, not the first thing you want to, you know, bring out in a luxury wellness property, but those are kind of the unique, you know, hooks. So you can kind of just sit there and brainstorm. How else can I bring in, you know, and that's, yeah, you mentioned a wonderful Christmas tree, you know, in our lobby. As a writer, I'm like, cool, you know, I don't know what I'm going to do with that. But, oh, yeah, Christmas in New Mexico. And that's a little detail that will make it in.
Or, you know, pick up your hot cocoa drink at the Christmas tree before heading on Canyon Road.
Right,
yeah,
right.
There's subtle ways to bring that in. And once a writer is in contact with the property, they're going to follow up with questions. They're, you know, it'll happen.
Right,
you know,
exactly.
It makes me think of it, too, like aligning yourself with certain trends. And that's kind of maybe too far off the beaten path from where we're going, but I'm just thinking of the wellness trend and how big that is right now. And so one of the resources I use a lot, and I don't know if you use it, Help a Reporter Out.
I'm familiar with it. Yeah, so right, it's a great resource.
We call it HARO because it's easier to say, HARO, Help a Reporter Out. I think it's helpareporterout.com. And it's a free resource where you can sign up to receive leads from journalists if you're a resource, like say you're a PR person or you have a certain destination that you're marketing. And then you can see what they're looking for. So for instance, I'm writing a story, you would see something like, I'm writing a story on facials that include rocks from the area that you live in or something like that. And you can be, oh my gosh, we can either develop this or we have something that exists. So that's a nice way to see, because I find sometimes it's hard to generate the news items month by month and always get them out consistently. And if you go to Help a Reporter Out, you can see what's trending, and then potentially start a relationship with a journalist who's already looking for something, so they're kind of ripe for the opportunity.
And I love that you brought that up, free resources.
Yeah.
Since we have a lot of our industry partners, and by the way, keep texting in your questions, 505-469-2739 to Brianna, or tweet them at NM Tourism. But a lot of our industry partners, and even organizations may not have a PR budget or a PR person on staff, and you brought up an interesting term also, Steve, a media consumer. What resources can we use that are either free, or how can we be more aware, more on top, so we're sending out timely pitches, relevant pitches, what's out there that we can harness, that we can utilize to have that top of mind awareness when it's not a defined program in our organization.
Well, he was talking about you have to be a consumer of the media, meaning if you are doing marketing and then you're also tasked with doing PR for White Sands, then you need to make sure that you're always looking at all of the travel and destination and all the New Mexico publications. You just have to have that in, you just have to keep yourself informed as to what's being covered so that you could figure out a way to be part of that. So. And they're not necessarily free. A lot of online things are free, but I mean we all need to support the publications and the outlets that we are wanting to pitch to as well. So on the marketing side, it's important that we obviously invest in advertising that reaches our markets, but that also that we are appreciative of the information that's available to us.
I think if you're a person who's like strapped for time and you're administrating, you're running a business, and PR is like fifth on your list of things to do, and you're the only one that can do it, and you're like, it's too overwhelming, and so opportunities keep passing you by. What I would do is spend like one afternoon dedicated to doing the things that come before, like Jennifer was saying, like research the top 10 to 20 publications you want to get in the next 12 months. Then develop a news story or some kind of news item that's either connected with a trend or other properties or industry partners, or you stand alone for the next 12 months. Write a pitch for each of one of them, if you can, or maybe it's 3 months. Write a pitch for each of them. And then each month, just one time, really, you could sit down, cast your net to those 10 to 20 publications, and maybe they're 10 to 20 for each month, and see what you get over the course of the year. And then I think, too, pay close attention to what your industry partner leadership is doing, like the New Mexico Tourism Department. If you're getting leads and they're asking you for information that they're going to then take to their PR rep that has direct contact with media, be the first one to respond to that. Tourism Santa Fe and other CBB-type organizations are doing the same thing. They're the leverage point for you as specific destinations to really utilize that free opportunity, then help a reporter out. And there's a guy I love online named Michael Smart, and he's michaelsmartpr.com. He does a weekly newsletter on how to pitch, and he's like super straightforward and no nonsense. And so that's what I would do if I was strapped for time and resources.
And the websites are great. Make sure your website is functioning and works, and that your contact information, your telephone number is huge. It doesn't have to be complicated or fancy. It just has to, be legit and work. And then, it's obvious, but good old Facebook and Instagram. If maybe this property is good for young kids, I will find them on Facebook and just go through the photos and really kind of get a feel for what's going on. I'm like, okay, it's worth my while to pursue, to reach out, to this place. And it's a free photo gallery too. You can include your Facebook or Instagram gallery on any pitches or correspondence you send out. It really helps me as a writer anyway. Like, okay, I get it. This would be a good fit. I would feel good about recommending this place, to my readership.
So, Steve, when you say, have a good website and your contact information, all that makes sense. Do you ever find where someone has contacted you at a certain point and you're thinking about them and you go to try to find them and you can't actually find them on on a website or internet or something.
Yeah,
Does that happen?
definitely.
So that would be a really good, important thing to always.
Yeah,
That would stop you in your tracks.
Non-negotiable, right?
Google you. Can we find you?
Yeah.
Right, and absolutely, again, everything, I'm putting my name on the stuff, recommending to, essentially the world that, out of all the places, these are the ones that you should consider. So, it needs to be responsive, needs to be current. If I have a hard time tracking something down, my reader's going to have a hard time. If links are broken, stuff like that, then I just move on because it's too much of a liability to me as a journalist. So it's heartbreaking because you hit that a lot, and you're like, man, I know it's hard. I know it's hard to keep up on stuff, but I can't publish this website if nothing works.
Are you immediately skeptical of experiences that don't have a social media presence? Is that kind of a make or break kind of
I wouldn't say
boundary
make or
line?
break. I mean, sometimes it can be intriguing. Like, are these people
tell me more.
School
Yeah.
at, they don't have Facebook,
They're only on Snapchat, and they're not.
That's
right,
it. They're on the cutting edge.
Right, all my hipster friends with typewriters and don't have social media.
Right.
That I never talk to. But yeah, for the most part, you're kind of like, that's odd.
I know
there a good
personally,
reason?
if I'm traveling somewhere with my family, I'm going to totally stalk the Facebook and Instagram. That'll be the tipping point for me as a traveler, where I'm like, oh, this is the right place for us. This is going to work.
Right.
Yeah, I'm Googling hashtags. I want to check out the pool.
Right.
Just all those little details. And it's so easy.
TripAdvisor.
Yeah, and that's, but, you probably have a cell phone with a camera. Every day, every couple of days, take a picture of your property. Like, another wonderful day here in Los Pinos, B&B or wherever. And it just keeps up. It's friendly. It's personable.
And can be free and casual, right?
Yeah, absolutely, yeah. It doesn't have to be any formal,
Doesn't have to be paid
so many
marketing
times,
necessarily.
The less formal, a lot of times, the better, You want a real human interaction. I don't want to stay at, ABC corporate property. I'm looking for a real New Mexico experience.
Right.
And there's a lot of New Mexico experiences that consumers are shopping for. So that, as a writer, that's what I'm sorting through to help people make up minds. But, customers are going straight to Facebook themselves and Googling hashtags. You had brought up TripAdvisor and Yelp. You have to take reviews with a grain of salt.
Yeah.
So if the turn down service isn't just perfect, people give 1 star, and but you certainly see patterns in the reviews, and savvy readers can figure out. And I do peek in on those just to see if there's any reoccurring problems that I need to be aware of before I step into something. Recommend, property has a great family pool, and all the reviews are like, for the past 2 years, the pool's been empty with a big crack in it. That's something I need to check out.
Not gonna work.
And I never, and that's when, okay, at that point, I'm making phone calls, I'm verifying, I'm making sure, giving everyone, direct access, to let me know what's going on. But
So Steve, I'm gonna have you again, just because we're so excited to have you here. So what makes you really engaged, and to go back to this, how to craft a pitch, and think or say to yourself, this pitch, I need to know more. I need to know more about. I'm really, really vested in. I'm going to reach back out.
Yeah, the pitches that get me excited as, basically a consumer. I'm thinking on behalf, I'm thinking like a reader, which are the people that businesses want to reach. Places that have the Gee Whiz factor, or you want details. And, like Jenna brought up, the human element is good, cost savings, if businesses look at trends, you know, and a lot of times by you get around to, by the time you make a pitch and contact a reporter, that trend's over, it's old hat. But start thinking along those lines, like, okay, well, what do we have that could be the next, you know, if people are interested in pet-friendly, you know, trends, what do we have that's similar? Instead of kind of a Me Too, it's like, oh, I wish you had known about, I wish I had known about you a month ago. You start to see formulas in stories and trends and roundups, and, you know, think about how you can fit yourself into that formula. And you know, the days of 6-page features all about you are kind of gone. You know, you have to settle for maybe a couple of paragraphs. But that starts a spark that gets more, you know, becomes almost as, that's how trends start. I just had for Travel Channel, I was sent out to, it's Rainbow Mountain outside of Cusco. And it's this all-day hike to this, you know, it's a pretty mountain with nice colorful strata, but
in Peru, you're talking
in
about
Peru, yeah.
I thought that was that.
It's in Aquinnah, yeah. And but I was sent out there because my editor, it's like, man, I'm seeing this thing everywhere. Go figure out how to do it. You know, get me some names and some contacts and kind of build on this. And so I don't know, maybe colorful geology is the trend now. You know, what do you have? You know, you've heard of Rainbow Mountain, you've heard of that really cool place in China I can't think of right now. But you know, the Red Rocks of New Mexico. You know.
The Black Place.
Yeah.
Georgia.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
You know, white. Yeah.
Or White Place and
Black
Place.
Black Place, White Place, right? Very colorful state. So you know, and as you begin kind of thinking about those types of things, and while you're here, check out our awesome property. So the caves out by Ojo Caliente. I mean that whole thing, blew up,
Yeah.
and it's still hot. But you know, what else would you have that would be related and of interest?
So we have a winding down here, but we have some time left. Brianna, did we have any questions text in?
So, basically, has there ever been a pitch that has fallen short? Maybe it didn't match the timeline that you were going for, it wasn't necessarily seasonal. Has there ever been kind of a downfall that you all have?
Every day. So as PR professionals, we make those pitches. They just don't hit. It's just not, it doesn't stick, and you get them as a
yeah, and it's really, I don't want to say they don't stick. It can be a perfectly awesome pitch that's just not what I do. You know, and so I think pitches that sound like corporate reports, you know, I just don't really care about.
So you actually get those, where people are saying, our business is up 75% and that kind of thing?
Yeah, I mean,
really,
it almost,
so,
you know, it sounds more like a press release.
Don't
and I think,
do that.
Yeah, I think a lot of them are press releases that they're just like, oh, here, let's, you know, delete this name and put his name on there, and now it's a pitch. You know, and it's really, it's like putting a message in a bottle and throwing it out into an ocean, you know, and you really have to have a thick skin. But like everyone was said, you know, you may not hear anything for a year.
Yeah.
A lot of times I'll print out pitches and file them away. You know, I still keep paper files, and you know, be able to go back through there and like, oh, okay, is this place still in business, and are they still doing this thing, and that's cool.
I can think of an example that didn't work recently for me. Actually, so Ojo Caliente is a client of mine, and they turned 150 this year. So that's a big anniversary. But having said that, it's been a destination as a healing source of healing waters for like 3,000 plus years, because Posse Pueblo was there originally. So 150 years doesn't sound that long. And Sunset Magazine was interested in it, but needed more. So it was interesting because it's a pretty remarkable anniversary in terms of, you know, hot springs resorts in the country. It's the original one. So you would think that it would hold water somewhere. No pun intended. But it didn't for Sunset, so they needed a little bit more. They needed some more information about the lodging, and even then, I mean, I've gotten through from an email pitch to a New York Times travel writer to a phone call, and you're just like, there's no way this isn't going to happen. Like, I feel it. We had a great conversation, and then like 3 months later, they're like, you know what, it's not going to work. We decided to go with X story instead. So, I mean, pitch is falling short. I mean, that's like the norm.
Those were solid pitches. It's just the stars didn't align,
Yeah, right.
and it's playing the lottery.
There is some kind of alchemy that's about. The other thing that we haven't talked about much is sort of the news cycle. If you have a big pitch and it happens to be on the same day a hurricane hit,
right.
or a big government announcement or something similar, and then you have this really lovely pitch that made it in front of the right person at the right time, but the news cycle is going to dictate something totally different.
Yeah.
And you have to keep coming up with pitches.
Yes.
PR is a marathon. It's not a sprint. Mm-hmm. And if that pitch, 150th anniversary, doesn't work, then you throw something else out there again a month later. Mm-hmm. And it's just you keep feeding interesting things to the press. And eventually, it'll, you keep doing, if you keep doing it right, news things, timely, all of that, it'll happen.
It's 150 years, but you can go up on the mesa and find pottery shards from 1,000 years ago and feel like, go from the middle of nowhere to a luxury property.
Very cool.
Yeah, I wish I had a magic 8-ball that, and all these businesses are so deserving. They're all so cool. And it's like, all right, hopefully I'll be doing this for a couple more decades, and I will get to everybody. I will convince all my editors that this is the way to go, and I'm lucky to like do a little mention with a hot link. A
little mention with the hot link
is awesome.
Is right, because they're going to go. People can read that, and it's however many people subscribe or read, and then they're going to go to your website, and that's. All of it's good.
It's,
coverage.
Exactly. I'd love to do a feature specifically on a place, but if you can get a sentence in there, I just mentioned a guide in Peru in that article I was talking about. He's like, oh my God, man, I'm like, the phone's melting.
Oh my gosh.
I'm gonna have to rethink this. So, I know these little tiny mentions do get seen and do work. So. Yep. Don't be disappointed if that's all you got.
There's some statistic out there of the something like 6 times the ROI of an organic mention over a paid mention. Some version, or maybe 600 times the ROI. Maybe I'm totally underestimating it, but there is
earned media.
Yeah, earned media. It's the general ROI of earned media. It's far outpaces. Oh yeah, absolutely. I say that as a marketer. I say that as someone who's all about those paid placements.
So we have just a few minutes left, but I want to open it up. Final comments, maybe something that we didn't cover, a great piece of advice that you came in here today with that we can pass on to our viewers today.
One thing I was thinking of actually when you were talking, because you're based in Albuquerque, you travel internationally to cover, but you also do a lot of New Mexico stories, which probably requires you going to those places. Mm-hmm. And I was thinking, find local writers that may write for both local and national publications, and invite them to your spot, and do something specific. Like I'm a chef. My grandmother's green chili stew recipe. It has something special. Blah blah blah. I want to invite you to come out this week, and we will host you, or you stay overnight. So invite local media to come and check you out, because you never know where that will lead.
And that's as destinations. If you're a hotel in a certain destination, then that's where you want to partner with the restaurants and say, let's bring Steve out for this annual celebration that we do, and let him see what's going on around here.
Yeah, create an itinerary. Give him the royal treatment. Give Steve
the royal We're here to tell you services.
I'm working, I swear.
He likes facials and massages.
And hiking, and only vegan. everything.
Oh, yeah.
That is not true. But, I've got a lot of great
I'm
vegan
just
meals.
kidding.
But that's something. That's out of my, wow, I'm not a vegan,
Yeah.
but this is an awesome meal. Like, I can,
Awesome.
takes me in a whole new, writing path. But no, it is good for people to see and experience the property and get it and just to feel what's going on. And I would say when you're writing a pitch, take a breath. Hope you own this place, you're working at this place because you love this place.
Mm-hmm.
You get it. You enjoy being here. You're providing a service that is valuable and wonderful. And put yourself in the shoes, the mindset of your visitors. And what are we offering here? You each mentioned, wellness. I mean, that is so huge right now. There's so much going on in the world. People just want to chill out. Digital detoxing is huge. A place where you don't want to think about your phone. Trying something different.
I think that taking a deep breath before your pitch is a really good piece of advice, because the reason why you run a business and live in New Mexico, there's a lot of heart in that. And I think when that is communicated, even in a short pitch, people and writers sense that, and that's a good way to engage somebody.
Absolutely. You just I want my readership to be like, wow, I'm so glad I read about this place. And and people travel vicariously. They're reading a place and they go there mentally and through the photos. And I love being able to say, it is worth it, to take the time off from work, get the kids packed, buy plane tickets or gas up the truck or whatever you need to do. If you spend a week or a few days here, or even a night on your way to someplace else, it's going to be cool. And these are the details that spoke to me just as a person, as a father, as a son, as a husband, as a buddy. And you want to extend that to your readership. And ultimately, it is that human connection. What do you have at your property? The products you're making, the food you're making, the clothing you're making, the community that you're a part of. You want to share that to the world. And, and these people may not be, we take a lot of things in New Mexico for granted. It's just our knowledge of the state. We're a foreign planet to a lot of people. And so you kind of have to go back maybe to the basics, depending on who you're pitching to.
Well, thank you all so much, and what a great note to end on. That's why we're in the industry we're in, right? Because we have a heart for it, and we believe in it.
I love it.
So that's all the time we have for today. Just a reminder, Travel Tank 2.0 entries are due on February 2nd. We have 2 weeks left. In the meantime, our next webinar is going to be on Thursday, February 15th. So keep an eye out for that. And in the meantime, stay in touch with New Mexico industry news. newmexico.org/industry, read Tourism Talk, and contact Brianna, industry.relations@state.nm.us. Erin, thank you so much for helping facilitate today. Thanks, Brianna and Juan behind the scenes coordinating this today. And thank you to our panelists. We really appreciate this and passing on your knowledge. So until next time, have a great morning and great rest of the day.
Thanks.